Ale, ale, ale! Come on, Nick, come on! Let's go, Nick!
Hi guys, I'm Nick Bester and welcome back to the channel. So when I first started running about 10 years ago, my marathon was 3 hours and 17 minutes. Since then, I've been able to progress to my current PB, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes. And today I'm going to give you my top 5 tips on how I feel you can improve your marathon time. Okay, so tip number 1. Executing a good marathon is a collective of consistency throughout the training block. So Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's the exact same when it comes to executing a good marathon. Pretty much what you're doing in training is you're building a house for yourself brick by brick by brick. And when it comes to race day, that's just the victory lap of all the hard work that's gone into it. So it depends on your experience of running, but more experienced runners tend to do a shorter block. Like in my own case, I do an 8-week block for a marathon build. But if you need more time for your body to adapt, then that can be a 12 or 16-week block. And you can't just have 1 or 2 good sessions within the training block and expect to have a really good or phenomenal race. Let's just say in my case, 8 weeks, that's 56 days of running. And in that, you know, if you nail 50 of the 56, well, that's really good consistency throughout training. But if you only nail sort of like 30 of the 56 days and you have really amazing sessions in there, but a lot of inconsistency, then that'll come out on race day. Marathons expose you, they expose any weakness. So if you're able to be consistent throughout the start to the finish, you stand a much better chance of executing a good race.
Ale, ale, ale! Come on, buddy, come on!
Tip number 2 is to set goals from the start. So goals help you remain motivated, they help keep you on track. An important part to goal setting is that your goals should be bold, they should scare you, but at the same time, they need to be realistic. So in my case, I've set myself a bold goal of 220. I know that's going to push me to my absolute limits. It definitely scares me, but at the same time, I know if I execute an amazing training block and race, then I'm able to achieve that. And I recommend the same in your case. So set something that you probably didn't know you were capable of. But at the same time, it's really important to set mini goals en route. So you want to maybe come up with a 10K goal. You definitely want to come up with a half marathon goal en route to reach a marathon. And all these little goals are ticking boxes in order to get to that main event and that bold goal you've set for yourself. So it really is a good way to get you out the door. It helps you know what to train at, what paces to go at. And it's really crucial to set this at the start of the training block. Okay, tip number 3. You need to do a lot of racing at goal marathon pace or whatever pace you're planning on going at the start of the race. So you need to do this within training so that it's not a complete shock to the system come race day. And I recommend doing a good chunk of speed, probably a little bit quicker than marathon pace as well. So let's just say you have an interval or track session on a Tuesday, which is common for a lot of us. This session should be at faster than marathon pace. And by doing quite a lot of pace at faster than marathon pace, it's really getting the body accustomed and conditioned to race pace, feeling a lot more comfortable. What you don't want is a situation on race day where as soon as that gun goes, race pace feels really uncomfortable, because if you're uncomfortable from early on in a marathon, it's simply not going to happen. So you really want to get your body accustomed to exactly what that race pace feels like. And you also want to do it in different conditions. You never know what race they might bring. So you might do it in some windy, rainy, you might even do it on a slightly hillier route. All that stuff is just going to make race day easier if conditions are good and the route is not as hard as what you've been training on. Remember, having said that, so you're doing a lot of training at goal marathon pace and quite a bit faster than goal marathon pace. But just a reminder that around 75 to 80% of your training should be within your zone 2 or easy recovery everyday pace.
Auf geht's! Come on, buddy, come on!
Okay, so tip number 4. From the beginning of the block and even the start of the race, you need to focus on the last 10Ks of the marathon or the last 6 miles, because that is where the magic happens. And I have no doubt if you nail that last section, then you're going to have had a successful race. So what I find helps motivate me in those tough, grueling interval sessions is just by thinking, whatever you put in now is going to help you in that last stage of the race. I've done enough marathons to know that you can be comfortable for a really long period of time, but you can lose so much time towards the latter end if you haven't trained for it, or if you haven't been mentally prepared for it, or if your body's not conditioned for it. So often I find that even starting the race, thinking about the last 10Ks tends to help. What you want to do is you want to be staying below threshold from at least the first half of the race. That way you're not burning too many matches and you stand a really good chance come that last 10Ks. If you go out too fast, you're really going to struggle. You're going to lose a lot of time and you're not going to run to the best of your ability. And just by thinking of that last bit really does help you conserve, so that when it comes, you can say to yourself, this is what I've trained for. This is what I'm built for. This is exactly the work I've been doing in my interval sessions for these next 10Ks right here. And that'll give you a really, really good chance of executing a good run. Okay, last but not least, tip number 5. So it's really important to pick a race strategy that suits you perfectly. We all built differently. We have different styles. I mean, imagine we were the same. There'd probably be one pair of shoes that would suit all of us, but that's not the case. And the exact same goes when it comes to race day strategy. Okay, what works for me might not work for you, might not work for the world record holders. So it's important to trial this within races to know that, okay, cool, come race day, this is what suits me best. If you look at the current world records on both the male and female in the marathon distance, they've both come off negative splits. All my PBs have come off negative splits as well. So for me, that's probably the best style and way to execute a marathon. However, that might not suit you better. I think a lot of people have an equal split strategy that tends to work well for them. What I probably wouldn't recommend doing is going out as hard as possible until you start fading and then really try and hang in there as best as possible. So trial these different strategies within shorter distance races. You can do it from a 5K race, 10K race, half marathon, see what works for you and then run according to that way. So it's as simple as that. You need to run your own race. It's your day, it's what you've trained for, and don't let anybody else's race affect your race. Cool, I really hope these tips have helped you. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Subscribe for more. I'm going to be making a lot more helpful content going forward. And if you do improve in your marathon time due to any of these tips, please let me know. I draw great motivation and inspiration from it. Onwards and upwards. Boom shakalaka, go get that PB. Let's go.